Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Golden Astrologer Podcast. This is Deb McBride, and I am reaching you from the beautiful and sunny Escazú, Costa Rica, on Sunday, the 2nd of March in the year 2025. March is here. March is upon us. March is now here for us to experience full on because March is one heck of a month. Okay, this is going to be a very powerful, change-worthy month. We've got a lot going on. Every week, we're going to have a juicy podcast full of stories, full of things that we need to contend with, deal with, contemplate, ponder. Everything that we are having happen to us is going to be a very, very interesting story. So let's get to it. The first piece of this is that, as you probably know and figured, if you've been listening to me all along, that Venus is retrograde. So now Mars went direct last week, and here we are as of yesterday at 7:36 p.m. Eastern Time. Venus went retrograde at 10 degrees of Aries. So Venus retrograde means that Venus appears to be traveling backwards from our vantage point on the Earth. This will last till about April 12th, 13th, depending on what part of the world you're in. Venus is going to reach 24 Pisces. Venus will go backwards into 24 Pisces. She'll go back into Pisces, and then she'll turn around to 24 Pisces. Now, I told you weeks ago that we would be discussing this quite a bit because it is a very interesting Venus retrograde. But when Venus is retro, right now she's an evening star, and then she will descend and come back as a morning star. Okay, so there's a point here in the retrograde that she will disappear. We won't be able to see her at all, and then she'll come back as a morning star, and she'll stay that way for a while. So get a good look at Venus at night. She's very bright, and Venus is always closer to the Earth. Planets, especially the inner planets, are closer to the Earth. We can see them more clearly when they go into retrograde. So as Venus has slowed down and stopped and turned around, she is very close to the Earth in relatively speaking. Of course, she's not going to be like right outside our window beaming in the window like the sun. She's not that big. But the goddess is out to lunch. The goddess is present for us, in the divinity sense within ourselves always, but she is not really present for brand new relationships. She is in her sort of hibernation phase. And women particularly are connected to this, and we're all going to feel it because we all have Venus. Venus is always in our astrological natal chart, and Venus is in the sky and she's moving. So we each receive Venus someplace. Where is 10 degrees Aries for you in your astrological chart? If you don't know and you want to talk about it, contact me, thegoldenastrologer.com, click book online. You will get a session with me, or you can set up a session with me actually. So with Venus in retrograde, we go more internally with our feelings, with our relationships. We do some contemplation. We think about where our emotional wounds might be. We figure out and feel into things that maybe we haven't felt for a long time because Venus goes backwards, so she brings back the past. And so there may be things that come to our awareness that are from our emotional past, from our relationship past. And we start to ponder these things and understand them more deeply. It's time to go more deeply and more within. We go in and we take a step back so that we can really feel into what has been our relationship patterns, what has been the course of our life in relationships. Do we want a relationship? Are we in a relationship? And if you are, and you're married or something, for example, you would sit with your partner during these 6 weeks and talk with them about your goals, your ideas, your love, your communication with each other. Are you happy with your relationship? Do you need something from each other? And this goes with a lot of things. This could be the relationship with your kids. You're going to have to maybe talk to them a little bit. Maybe it's time to sit down and give them the adult talk. Maybe they're that age, they need to know about the ways of life. Maybe you need to have a discussion with your colleagues, employees, whatever. There's often deep contemplation, and you don't have to have a conversation. I mean, maybe there's no one you need to talk to about anything, but maybe you need to talk with yourself. And the deep contemplation comes during this time, and it makes it easier. Venus makes it easier for us to do this during this time, and makes it easier to really connect with how we're feeling. So it's sort of, our emotions are more available to us. Now, that being said, it is important to not fly off the handle and get crazy with your emotions during this time. You don't want to start, starting fights and starting, bringing back old patterns that had been put away, put down those old patterns. We don't do that anymore, but don't bring them back to life now if they were things that were not constructive for your life and your relationships. So you probably will want to notice those things a little more, and how that affects you and what that feels like, and how you operate with that in your life and in your relationships. Your relationship with yourself, your relationship with your finances. And people have interesting relationships with their finances. I know this. People have really, and I once helped a psychotherapist with her finances, and we both touched on that. He said how people's relationships with their finances is far more interesting than their relationships with their significant other. And so it's a time to ponder all of this, and how you're handling things, and what you want to do differently, and what you need. What are your emotional needs? Maybe your emotional needs are, hey, I've been alone for a long time. Maybe it's time to be with someone. Or maybe it's, I've been in this relationship and it is like not going anywhere and we have to spruce it up. Or, maybe you're getting out of something. So it depends. It depends on where you are in your life, where Venus falls for you at 10 degrees of Aries, and how this makes you feel. Venus is not her happiest in Aries. She likes being in Libra, the opposite sign. I've said this before. She rules Libra. She rules Taurus. Aries and Scorpio are not her favorite places to be. Therefore, it may make it a little more complicated to get your point across, to get your emotions sorted out. Maybe it takes extra effort. But Venus will go back into Pisces, and she will do this dance. And as I've told you, and I told you, Venus is going to dance with Saturn for most of April. So I talked about that a lot in these last weeks. Now I want to touch on some other things. We'll go back to Venus, Saturn as we get closer. But Venus has gone retrograde at 10 degrees of Aries. This happened right after the new moon. The new moon opened the eclipse period. Venus is going to be retrograde throughout the entire eclipse period. The first eclipse is the 14th of March, and it is a lunar eclipse. It's a total lunar eclipse at 23 degrees of Virgo, 57 minutes, almost 24 degrees Virgo. The sun will be at 24 degrees of Pisces. The second eclipse is a solar eclipse, and it is a partial eclipse, and it will occur on Saturday, the 29th of March, and it will be at 6:58 a.m. at 9 degrees of Aries. Now, why do I bring this up? Because we have to know, but also because Venus is going to go direct at 24 degrees of Pisces. The first eclipse has the sun at about 24 degrees Pisces. The second eclipse occurs at 9 degrees Aries. Venus went retrograde at 10 degrees Aries. Venus is deeply involved with this eclipse period. She is involved. She is not separate from this. None of it is separate. It all goes hand in hand, the whole zodiac, the whole planetary alignment right now. But Venus is retrograde through the period of the eclipses, and she touches both eclipses with her stations. Her station direct, her station retrograde. Both of those times touch the eclipses. This is powerful. This means that she is her theme, what she's telling us, what we're learning about ourselves is going to be very involved in the eclipses, which means that the eclipses are going to be rather emotional. They're always emotional because they bring emotions to the table. That's what eclipses do. But this particular one is going to have its tentacles, shall we say, in the Venus retrograde. This particular eclipse period is deeply connected to Venus. So I feel that this is going to be some churning emotional time. When Venus goes direct, she's going to go direct and trigger the sun part, or really like the whole eclipse, the whole enchilada of the sun and moon opposite each other. She's wrapped up in that first eclipse. Now, that doesn't mean, like you're saying, Deb, wait, she goes retrograde like a month later. Yes, she does, but she's triggering what is now a famous point. The eclipse point is hot and heated, okay? It's hot and heated. This is what eclipses are. That's what they do. They're hot. And so Venus is touching. She's already giving us information. Whatever's going on in these last couple days, she's already giving us information about the second eclipse. We're in it. We are in it. It's not like she did this 6 months ago at these points, although we would still reflect back to them. She wouldn't be 6 months ago at those points anyway. But the fact that this is all happening at the same time, she's deeply involved with the eclipses. So pay attention. What were these last days like for you? What happened for you in these last couple of days? What's happening now? What are you feeling? Is it freedom? Is it worry? Is it emotional turmoil? Is it financial turmoil? Is it relationship turmoil? Is it parent-children turmoil? Is it, you and your parents as opposed to your kids? But this is something that we need to pay attention to because it is deeply connected astrologically, okay? So then our friend Mercury, we love Mercury. Mercury is going to go retrograde on Friday the 14th, the day of the eclipse. So this is, it's going to be depending on where you are, of course. If you are in Europe and, further east, you're going to get Mercury retrograde on Saturday the 15th. And if you're actually in the Eastern time zone in the U.S., you are going to get it on the 15th at 2:46 a.m. Mercury is going to stay in Aries as it's going into Aries tomorrow. And it is going to then retrograde into Pisces backwards, just like Venus. Now, Mercury goes into Aries tomorrow at 4:04 a.m. Eastern time. But when it retrogrades 2 weeks from now, on the 14th, 15th of March, it's going retrograde at 9 degrees of Aries, which is the second eclipse degree, and a degree away from where Venus went retrograde at 10 degrees of Aries. This is all a story. It's all a story. Mercury will go direct at 26 Pisces, which is a little bit off from the Venus and the first eclipse, but it's still close enough. So essentially, Mercury and Venus are following the same retrograde path. They're doing it not entirely aligned, like not on the same day and turning direct because they have different cycles, but they're essentially following the same retrograde path. So what the universe is saying is, hey, if you didn't get this message, I'm giving it to you again. If you didn't understand this, let's review. Let's start with Venus, and then if you're still not getting it, 2 weeks later, we're going to start with Mercury, and we're going to give you the same story, the same message, and you're going to have to really pay attention the second time, because there's going to be a test. We're going to get quizzes. My French teacher used to say, quizzes every day. And then he would sing quizzes every day. And this is what the universe is doing. It's quizzing us every day, And this is so connected, complicated, intertwined, story upon story, layer upon layer. And what you're doing is you're you're maybe, and this is a metaphor I heard the other day. You're walking up a spiral staircase in a glass tower, and you're going up floor by floor, and you're going up, and you have a view outside the glass door, the glass windows, as you're going up the spiral staircase. And you're going up the spiral staircase, and you go up and you see this view, and then you get up to the next level of the spiral staircase, and it's essentially the same view. What is that? Right? What's that? I'm seeing the same thing, but I've come all this way. I'm looking out the window and I'm seeing the same thing. Yeah, because you're seeing it from a higher perspective at a new level, because you have gotten to a new level. And that's what's happening here. We're moving through levels upon levels through this Aries Pisces dynamic that we are working with and working through at this time. It would help you a whole lot to know where that section of your chart is, okay? And if you have planets there, maybe you are an Aries, maybe you are a Pisces, maybe you've got the moon in Pisces or Aries. But if you've got planets there, they're going to get triggered usually in the earlier degrees of this, and the later degrees of Pisces, the earlier degrees of Aries. Aries is ruled by Mars. Now that all of this is happening, it's probably a good thing that Mars is direct, even though Mars is going to go over that path again where it went last year, late last year, like November and all. So we're helped by the fact that the ruler of Aries is now direct. Aries is the warrior sign. Aries is the let me go out with my courage and raise my sword in the air and fight the battle. Pisces is all about peace. So this is all war and peace kind of thing. War, peace, war, peace. And so Pisces wants reflection. Pisces wants healing. Pisces wants peace. Pisces wants altruism. Pisces wants a certain amount of deep contemplation privately, internally, sensitively. Aries is not the sensitive type as Pisces is. It's like being asleep and then being awake. Pisces is where we slumber, where we go into our dreams, where we go into our subconscious, where we take our rest. And then Aries is like, okay, alarm's going off, time to get going. Got to warrior through this day. This is the difference in the description of those two signs. This is the difference between their energies. So we're going to be navigating a lot of this, okay? I already feel tired. I already feel tired. Maybe just because it's Pisces season and we've got so much in Pisces right now. There's Neptune and Saturn, of course. And there's the North Node and Mercury and the Sun. And, Mercury will change signs tomorrow. But that new moon in Pisces, it's just been so much of this energy that is asking us to maybe rest or maybe just slow down. Pisces is slower than Aries. Pisces can be assertive. It's not that they're, like my teacher used to say, they're not always staggering around with a lampshade on their head. They could be more organized than a Virgo on diet pills. And they can be very organized, but they go about it in their own way. They go about it in the way Aquarius does also. They are really moving in it to the beat of their own drum. Both of those signs, really. So what we're looking at is this story that is going to play out over these next weeks and months, really, because Venus is going to trigger that first eclipse when she turns direct in April. Mercury is going to get close to kind of triggering that first eclipse when it goes direct April 7th. So there's a lot of repeat patterns here. Now, we want to pay very close attention to all of this because we are going to be needing to facilitate this very swiftly and nicely and not get stuck in the muck and mire of eclipses and emotions and things. We have to handle this and navigate it very well because it is going to be murky. Pisces can be murky. It can be. We don't see clearly. There's a lot of things we might not see accordingly. So now that we're here, now that we're with Venus and Venus is going retrograde, we want to listen, pay attention, stay awake, keep your eyes open, and just be very clear on what you are seeing and knowing. Aries is clear where Pisces isn't. Aries is direct where Pisces is more behind the scenes and coming through the back door. Like I said, they're very different signs. And you want to be as clear as possible when we are navigating all of this, okay? I can't stress that enough. It's important to pay attention because there's going to be, Pisces is deals behind closed doors. We're not finding out what that is all about. Aries is the deal is on the table in front of you, okay? So as all of this happens, you want to be very cautious and careful who you're dealing with, who you're talking to, what you're saying to them. I mean, obviously there's people in your life you trust very much. You don't want to tell things to people who might betray your trust. You don't want people going behind your back and saying things to other people. You don't want underhanded, insidious things happening during this whole Pisces Aries thing. Otherwise, it's like confrontation. You don't want confrontations and insidious behavior. Be as clear as possible. Be as focused as possible. And when in doubt, keep quiet. That's one thing Pisces does well. They can go behind the scenes and stay quiet and do their thing, Aries, not so much. Aries is often boisterous or upfront or in your face or something very direct. So in order to have good relationships, spread good cheer with everyone, say good things. If you can't say something good, don't say anything at all, and just navigate this time with great clarity. Eclipses are always frenetic, frantic energy. They bring up our emotions. They make us not think before we act or do or scream or revolt, okay? When emotions are high, intelligence is low. Think about things before you speak. Go off to the corner and breathe if you need to. But we want to keep the emotional intelligence level high, and we want to handle things rationally before we get out of control. We want to be real adults during this process, okay? We want to not embarrass ourselves. We want to not regret what we did. Don't take action until you feel it out. And that could really be a good part of Pisces to Aries. Feeling through it, addressing your feelings, feeling your feelings, and then taking action. Not taking action and then coming back and feeling horrible about it later, okay? So we don't want to slip up. We don't want to mess around. We want to just stay good and fine with the people we love and care about, okay? So much, and we're going to talk about this so much more as the weeks progress. But for the rest of this week, we have a very nice sextile of Mercury in Aries to Pluto in Aquarius, and that is at 8:13 a.m. on Wednesday the 5th, which is this Wednesday, and is also Ash Wednesday if you celebrate that. So that's a nice balance of intellect and power. Power in words. Speak to your power. Speak to another person's power. You want to talk power to power with people. Then there's this nice Sun trine Mars, which is also very powerful and full of vitality. And that's at the end of the week. That's Saturday Eastern Standard Time. Yeah, it will be Standard Time. Eastern Standard Time, 12:13 a.m. Saturday. Sunday is when Daylight Savings Time is coming in, right? So it'll still be Standard Time on Saturday the 8th when Mars and the Sun are trine at 12:13 a.m. And so then, we can expect that to be an energetic sort of day, a day where we get things done, accomplished, and, maybe a kind of fun. But it is interesting because Mars is in Cancer and the Sun is in Pisces. So this is all about feelings. And again, being reminded to feel our feelings, which is always, always going to be beneficial for us. This is a more feeling time that we're in. There's a lot of water in the sky. The only Earth we have is Uranus in Taurus. And so, there's the moon is in Aries right now with Chiron, and obviously Venus is in Aries, but we are in a very watery, emotional, and there's air, Jupiter's in Gemini, and and Pluto is in Aquarius, there's not a lot of Earth. The South Node in Virgo does not plant its feet in the Earth the way a planet does. It's a point. And so the Earth we're getting, interestingly enough, is Uranus and Taurus, which is not the most stable earthbound energy. In the next couple days, of course, the moon is going into Taurus tomorrow at 5:37 a.m. So we're going to get some good earth energy supporting us through this time. And we want to look to the earthier energies, and we'll get a good dose of earth during the eclipse when the moon gets to Virgo. This is the companion eclipse to last September. There was an eclipse last September where the moon was in Pisces and the sun was in Virgo, and the moon was very close to Neptune. And this is the reverse of that. And it's interesting because it's close to a similar degree. But the moon was with Neptune. Now the sun will be close to Neptune in this first eclipse, and the moon will be in Virgo. So we're getting sort of the opposite. And I remember that was the one that was really peaceful. That was the one where I said, wow, the energy was just incredibly lovely and peaceful. For me, I know other people, it was a little more rock and roll for them. But for me, it was very lovely, sweet, and just a beautiful, peaceful energy, which I really appreciated in an eclipse. I really have to thank the universe for that one because it was really very lovely and peaceful. Very unusual for an eclipse. However, this one gives us, North Node at the sun at the North Node, but it's where the moon is that counts. So this is the moon at the South Node. But this North Node with Neptune right now, and it's a lovely reminder of the direction we're supposed to be going in, the direction of peace, the direction of non-conflict, the direction of being in faith and putting our faith in something greater than ourselves that we know we can trust. So a higher level of faith and belief. We have to believe in something. We can't walk around without faith. And that's what this North Node and Neptune are teaching us right now. So they're going to be together for a while, and we're really going to be in the throes of this when we get into the end of Pisces and the sun is there and Venus is there and everything is really juicy at the end of the sign. This is when we have to have the deepest faith in our life right now. So whatever gives you faith, wherever you can receive support, wherever you want to put your energies, where you put your attention is where you put your energy. So what you want to put your attention on right now is your belief system, your faith, your belief in yourself, and in something greater than yourself. If you would like support, you can come have a session with me. Just go to my website, thegoldenastrologer.com, click book online, and you will find an option or 2 or 3 that you can take. You can opt for an astrology session with me, which is, always good to do during these times, especially with eclipses. You can get a Reiki session with me, which is lovely and also very deep. It isn't just, we're just doing healing. We're clearing obstacles. We're working through patterns. We're clearing out any sort of, snarls in your energy field. I do things like, electromagnetic fields, purification. That's part of the Reiki. Implanting, etheric crystals, clearing up obstacles between you and others. Anything that, we can do energetically. It's all energetic work. So it isn't just like healing. And since it's remote, I'm not putting my hands on anybody. It's not hands-on healing. But Rainbow Crystal Reiki is different because I use it all the time to help clear up situations and project good energies into things that I want to have happen and all. So it's good. It also can juice up your business and stuff like that. So I use it for a lot of things. Very handy. You can also work with me long term in my expansion energy mentoring. And that's a lovely experience too, because we get to go a little more deeply, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, or however long you want to go. And we get more deeply into what belief systems we want to clear, what what your projection into your world, what you want to create, and how we can make that happen for you. There are lots of options. And of course, I pull from my toolbox of astrology and Reiki and my coaching certification to work with you long term. So that's an option. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a beautiful week ahead. We're going into this first week of March, if you can believe it, the first week of the third month already. And we are going into this first week of Venus retrograde. So tell me your Venus retrograde stories. You can contact me on Instagram as well. I'm the Golden Astrologer on Instagram. You can write to me, info@thegoldenastrologer.com or deb@debmcbride.com, and talk to me about what your Venus retrograde experiences have been. And we'll be feeling the energies juicing up as we get closer to these eclipses. So be well, be happy, find joy. Gratitude to each and every one of you for listening. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I will see you on the internet.